This channel is part of the History Hits network. Stick around to find out more.
Welcome to the late 1800s. The arts and crafts movement is at the height of its fame, and a group of men and women are busy rewriting the rulebooks of design and architecture. They wanted to make everyday objects beautiful, and they left an impact on British design we still feel today. But make no mistake, this was about so much more than pretty wallpaper and embroidered cushions. These artists, architects and political thinkers were starting a revolution. Inspired by art critic John Ruskin and socialist designer William Morris, they hated the drudgery and ugliness of the industrial age. They wanted to turn the clock back to an age where a craft worker's skills were valued. These were principles not just for design, but for life. Bring joy to work, share knowledge, and make beauty accessible to all. From the 1880s to the 1920s, they spread their radical message across Britain. Art could help to end social inequality. Which is a great idea, if you can make it work. To find out what we can learn from the arts and crafts movement, 6 21st century craftspeople are heading back to the world of the 19th. The crafters are going back to basics. They won't find computer-aided design or power tools here.
In real life, we wouldn't be worried about it. We just put the machine, we'll go.
Now they're spending a month together in a Victorian artists' commune.
We're going to be up early, we're going to be in late.
Yeah, okay.
They'll be living the arts and crafts dream. Simplicity, fellowship,
Thank you.
and taking joy in work. As they remake this stunning house room by room, without tears or tantrums.
You start off all being very nicey-nicey. As the pressure builds up, it's really hard to hide the real you.
Can they recreate the beautiful objects and high ideals of the arts and crafts movement by hand? And will recapturing the spirit of the past bring fresh creativity to the crafts of the present? It's the first week in the Victorian House of Arts and Crafts. And 6 modern-day crafters are on the way to their home for the next month. A creative commune in the Welsh Wye Valley, where 2 design experts are joining them for the first time. Patch Rogers, an arts and crafts expert and dealer, will be assessing the quality of their work. And Keith Brymer Jones, an internationally known potter, will be on hand for help and advice. Hello everybody, and welcome to the late 1890s. Well, you're looking the part. So this is how it's going to work. We are going to breathe life into this beautiful old house. It will be done room by room. Each room will feature 3 key arts and crafts objects created by you.
Now, the objects that you're going to be making had meaning and purpose way beyond just being pretty things. They represented deeply held beliefs for a useful and good life. They were political objects.
Over the next month, you are going to make 12 classic arts and crafts pieces, some of them taken from this original Morris & Co. catalogue.
I think we should go and see the first room. This way.
If you love history, then you'll love History Hit. We have tons of exclusive documentaries about the most important people in history that you will not find anywhere else. We work with some of the world's best historians, like Susanna Lipscomb, Mary Beard and Tony Robinson, exploring everything from the jobs of Tudor England to the diaries of Queen Victoria. Not only that, but we have a huge podcast network, releasing new episodes every day, so you'll always have something to listen to. Sign up now for a 14-day free trial, and Absolute History fans get 50% off their first 3 months. Just be sure to use the code AbsoluteHistory at checkout.
This week, our crafters will be decorating the house's parlour. In Victorian times, it was a room for entertaining stuffily. It was often the most ornate room in the house, somewhere you could show off your wealth and position. Uncluttered it wasn't. Layered velvet, fringes and tassels, and dark woodwork only added to the gloom. The arts and crafts movement threw out this fussy, heavy Victorian style and replaced it with light, space and calm, and handcrafted, less formal furniture.
3 objects do not make a room. So in keeping with the ethos of the arts and crafts movement, you'll be sharing knowledge and responsibility. And between you, you will finish the entire parlour, because it's not enough to just have those 3 objects. So it's not feet up for 3 of you and hard work for the other 3. It's about working as a group. So to our first object, and that is for you, Abdullah.
Okay.
Keith, could you reveal what it is, please?
It is this magnificent Sussex chair from the man himself, William Morris.
Okay, hello Sussex Chair.
The Sussex Chair was a hugely popular design sold by Morris & Co. The leading light in the arts and crafts movement, Morris railed against mass production, which he thought made soulless objects for soulless people. Instead, he championed the handmade creation, fashioned with love and care and cherished by its owners. It was meant to last a lifetime. But handcrafted objects don't come cheap. In the early 1900s, this chair cost 9 and 9p, nearly half the weekly wage of the average Victorian clerk. Today, it would cost you around £1,600.
The next object will be made by you, Bryony. Patch, what have you got for her?
So what we've got a C.R. Ashby silver hand-raised bowl, and believe it or not, it was meant to represent simple tableware in everyday life.
Charles Robert Ashby was another key figure in the arts and crafts movement, best known for his silver, jewellery and furniture. His bowls are highly collectible and cost thousands of pounds to buy.
What we want you to do is recreate this bowl.
Just tell me what you think. I mean, I love the big smile on your face.
There's always something nerve-wracking about a piece that you've never made, and you really want to get it in your hands, to have a look and see how it's made. It will definitely push me, which is exciting and terrifying as well.
And the third object is for Ilsa. Patch.
Okay, let's have a look. There it is, an original piece of William Morris wallpaper.
As well as his furniture, Morris is famous for his sumptuously patterned wallpaper, often based on British flowers. But his designs took a while to catch on. 25 years, in fact. It was the Royal Seal of Approval that finally put him on the map. In 1887, Queen Victoria commissioned him to make wallpaper specially for Balmoral.
Now, Ilsa, we're not asking you to recreate this design. What we're asking you to do is, using arts and crafts techniques, create your own interpretation of the William Morris print.
Okay, sounds good.
Happy?
Yeah, I'm excited that I can bring my own interpretation, definitely.
Well, it's a lot of work, but you've got one entire week to get it all done. And all of you will be involved, because in the ethos of the movement, it's about the group. William Morris said himself, fellowship is heaven and lack of fellowship is hell. And what we want to create here is a piece of heaven.
And so for the next month, these 6 crafters will be living out the high utopian ideals of the arts and crafts movement. We hope.
Is this my room?
Ilsa Parry is a product designer from Liverpool.
Very basic. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to use this bedpan thing. I think I wanted to take part in this experience mainly to have a collaborative project, because it's been a long time since I've done that. Sometimes I'm quite solitary in how I work, and my best ideas come when I bounce off other creative people. I want to experience joy in creativity, which is something I feel I've lost.
There's no microwave here. I can't see microwave here.
Abdullah Nafisi is an Iranian-born furniture maker from West Sussex.
Hello, Victorian times. Wow.
Rod Hughes is a bladesmith from Surrey.
Ooh, it's a bit smaller than I'm used to, but I get used to anything.
This is a meeting of all the talents by design.
Oh, it's nice and warm.
Bryony Knox is a silversmith from Edinburgh.
Good old pickled onions, some brown sugar.
Her work is elegant, glamorous and playful.
Oh my goodness.
And Niamh Wimpress is an embroiderer from Stroud in Gloucestershire.
Beautiful.
She gets the biggest room, but it's where she'll work, on this antique Victorian sewing machine.
My grandma has a sewing machine like this.
There's no excuse for lack of inspiration. The house's library is helpfully stocked with arts and crafts books and manuals.
The arts and crafts movement would very much catalogue its progress. Predominantly, it was about teaching.
Arts of life, that's important.
You seen that block?
Block printing, thank you.
The Victorians had lost sight of the sort of handcrafted, artist-designed elements of their world. It was Morris's idea to bring that back.
Hints on pattern designing. I'll just take all these.
Dancing book.
Stephen Winstanley is a potter and the youngest and least experienced of the crafters.
Not really. I'm not really sure if I'm going to spend much time in here, to be honest.
And now the challenge becomes real. Our crafters take a closer look at the original work they'll be matching themselves against. And it's impressive.
Oh, interesting. It's not very exactly copied, but that's good. Oh, I love the mind of the person who has designed this. I love it.
I love how there's a sense of depth to it.
Ilse has to make a free interpretation of this William Morris wallpaper design using traditional block printing techniques.
So how many colours? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Let's count again.
Bryony puzzles out the secrets of her CR Ashby Bowl.
Elegant in its simplicity. I wanted to see how the soldering of the handle is attached. It's quite interesting that it's on both sides. And then that shape and the fact that it's totally, perfectly equal. Sometimes symmetry is the hardest thing to recreate.
It's the first working day in the Victorian House of Arts and Crafts. And what a house. It will be home to our 6 crafters for the next 4 weeks. This beautiful building was commissioned in the arts and crafts style in 1910. The arts and crafts leaders deeply valued good design. But this wasn't just about aesthetic appeal. It was political. The ultimate aim was to enable the working classes to lead better lives. The high priest was John Ruskin, a philosopher and social reformer and an artist himself. From him, William Morris took the idea that working with your hands could bring pride, not just a way to earn a living. He called this the dignity of labour. Morris's extensive writings also inspired nostalgia for rural traditions and the joy of the countryside.
Morris is important in the sense that he was the father of the arts and crafts movement. Morris was a rebellious type. He was an idealist, and at the foremost, he was a great designer. His designs have been used for the last 130 years. They're still being used on the high street today.
Not only will the crafters have to create beautiful objects,
Good morning.
but do it in a way Ruskin and Morris would have approved of. They've got a month to live together in line with the founders' ideals as an 1800s creative commune. Living the arts and crafts dream starts on day 1 at breakfast.
Good morning. Good morning. Take a seat and I will be serving breakfast very shortly.
This morning the crafters will be fed by their cook, Mrs. Staker. But from now on, in keeping with Morris's collective philosophy, everyone will have to muck in.
I'm all right, thank you.
This is kedgeree.
Which is rice and eggs.
And fish.
What kinds of fish?
Haddock.
Smoked haddock. It's a breakfast dish.
I might be sick.
Oh.
Bacon and baked mushrooms.
That's more like it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so for the parlour, I think we've all got a vague outline of what everybody is hoping to achieve now, right?
Each week, one crafter will be in charge. This week, it's Niamh, and it's up to her to make sure the team work collaboratively. She knows the parlour can't be a mishmash of competing styles, and Ilsa's wallpaper will set the tone. At least she thinks it will.
I would love for the room to be about our story in some way, whether that could come through on the wallpaper, in the imagery.
What timescale are we going to put on that? Because my concern is that some of the objects that we have to make are very, very complex in a very, very short period of time. It's absolutely right to have a theme, but to a certain extent, some people are going to have to just get started and going.
I feel quite under pressure. My brain doesn't work like that. You've got to give me a bit of space.
I will try to give you as much space as you need.
But why do you need
to know?
Because my brain does work like that, because I know we're not going to have enough time.
He's a builder.
Yes,
He's the builder.
We're all designers that make
It doesn't matter.
Guys,
we
come
all,
on.
we all do things different.
Yeah.
Guys, we all do different things differently. Mine is real concern about timescales, and what I'm just flagging up for me.
But it's going to come back to me.
Can I just shut up? Can you shut up a second?
That's a bit rude.
Can you not
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can you just listen to me for a second?
do it in a nicer way.
Right. So on time management, I'll get on with the drawing. Ilsa, when you're ready, give me a shout, and I'll put some input.
And if you're not available, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. I don't need. Do you know what I mean? I really appreciate it, but I can't. I'm not going to throw something out there that's shit because I've been rushed.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got
That's
time.
it. That's
Stuff to do.
craft. You know, you're gonna be.
Creative differences haven't taken long to emerge, have they? The crafters will work in the same way the arts and crafts pioneers did. They've all been given their own workrooms and authentic tools. So no arguments there then.
I think it's going to be great. I can hammer away to my heart's content and not piss anyone off.
Ah, this is beautiful. It's really nice done, nicely done.
In the time of arts and crafts, the tools often dated back to earlier centuries and were highly prized.
I was inspired by looking at the studio.
Oh yes. Yes, baby.
I am excited to work with all those tools. However, there's a lot of power tools missing in there, which I have adopted my skills and my hands are very good with them.
It is inches. Oh God. I work in millimeter.
Abby first needs the raw material for his Morris chair. A whole tree is more than he bargained for.
This is my first time green woodworking. I'm a cabinet maker who's been drawn back 150 years. My worry is that the tree doesn't split in two halves all the way to the end because I'm not experienced. I am imagining the tree will get that line and go all the way from the craft, from the middle. Otherwise, it might just split like that. And I'm losing a lot of good wood.
Right.
So this Sussex chair, I mean, what a complex object. In fact, the more I look at it, the more complex it becomes. Abdullah's got to recreate all these angles and these facets, and he's got to get all this, the bending right, the planes right. I mean, some of the angles are planed on three sides.
Yeah, it's very fine work. I think that the whole point of this chair is it's a very balanced piece of furniture. You know, the fact that these arms continue down through to the stretcher below, the spindles are very ordered. These aren't just spindles that have just been taken off the shelf. These have been designed by someone who knows what they're doing. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
I love you, my wood. Well done.
Bryony's beginning work on her version of the exquisite CR Ashby Bowl. Like Abby, she starts with the raw material, a single piece of silver, worth about £350.
I love being a metal worker. I've been lucky enough to find what I'm meant to do in life. I discovered metalwork when I was at university. It was actually wood that I thought was going to be the thing that really got me going, but I was always chopping too much off. It never really worked. And I just started hammering metal and sawing metal, and I very quickly realised that it really suited my temperament.
Patch and Keith know they've thrown down the gauntlet for Bryony.
It's exquisite, really.
It's a tall order. It's a beautiful bowl. I mean, the hammering, it really gives it a sense of the arts and crafts and the handmade value. It really sums up what English arts and crafts is all about. That loop handle, it's so simple, it's so beautifully made. It's a perfect object to represent the movements.
Ilsa's in the parlour, the room the crafters will refurbish this week, sketching out some initial ideas for her wallpaper pattern. William Morris designed his first wallpaper in 1862 and called it Trellis, inspired by a rose trellis at his home in Kent.
When you look at Morris's wallpapers, there's nothing shrinking about his designs. They're bold, they're strong. Also, I think that he had a great eye for colour and for the palette of the day. In order to buy William Morris's wallpaper back in the day, you would have had to have been quite an avant-garde person. You weren't an everyday Victorian in that sense, so you were looking for something different, and Morris was giving you that.
There's an existing block that I have to work with from this print. The dark green sections are what I have to work with and around. Trying to do a job that would take 10 minutes on a computer, and it's taken me about 4 hours up to now.
It's the end of the first day. Starting tomorrow, the crafters will need to work in collaboration with each other if the parlour project's going to be ready on time.
$37, $38, $39, $40, $41.
Potter Stevens up early.
$44, $45.
He's decided to create some tiles for the fireplace surrounding the parlour. He's using a traditional method for his measurements, taking the dimensions of the house as his starting point.
Currently making a little model of the front of the house for the fireplace. I managed to draw out the proportions of it without a calculator or measuring tape. Pretty much just used my feet and then counted how many steps it was. 56, 57. And then I worked out the ratio of that for the fireplace. There was a lot of math yesterday, so.
How'd you get on?
Very late night, and then it's not fully finished.
Okay.
Ilsa's getting close to deciding on a design for her wallpaper. Because she's using the technique of block printing, each new element of her design needs its own wood-carved block, and that means at least 3 individual blocks, and she's running out of time.
So even though I'm nowhere near a finished design, and most of the day's gone, the block has to be cut tomorrow morning.
Rod has offered his own woodworking skills, but these two crafters have very different approaches. This could be tricky.
So have you got definitive design yet?
No.
Okay.
Don't ask me again.
Okay. Ilsa is taking her time over coming up with a concept. I appreciate she's got to come up with an idea. Different styles. I'd have come up with a concept in 30 seconds, a couple of minutes or something like that. She's taking half a day.
Okay, let me explain. I want the feel of the experience here to be embedded in the motifs and the imagery to spark conversations, whether the colours should come from emotions. This is my project, but I feel that living in an arts and crafts commune, it's about collaboration and learning from each other.
But yeah, okay. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make something beautiful. We could pick a colour that's very right on. It could look dull.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for his knowledge, so I was keen to work with him. Then I realised that he was quite the instant decision maker, and he's headstrong and he wants to do things in his own way.
There is a fairly old colour, 1700s, dead salmon.
Sounds like it's full of life.
I I'm going to do my best to be very, very calm and not to rise to it, but she does like my wick a little bit. It is actually quite a sort of dully, pinky colour. They're
You're
quite
really selling it to me.
Group leader Neve is helping Abby with his Sussex chair by rush weaving its seat. Rush weaving is an ancient craft practiced in Britain since the late 1500s. It was a skill much admired by the arts and crafts pioneers for its timelessness and simplicity.
So far, it's been mostly unsuccessful. This is an entirely new process to me. And I'm working off diagrams from an old book, and it's just really difficult to try and work out what goes where. The principle of reed weaving, I think, is to kind of make squares, and then you build up the corners, and then eventually they will all join in the middle, as far as I can understand it, with having not a clue how to do it.
There is a flower within my heart, Daisy, planted one day by a glancing dart, planted by...
Stephen is planning tonight's dinner with the indispensable Mrs. Beaton's Book of Household Management to hand. Published in 1861, it was the first book of its kind to feature simple step-by-step recipes. It's not for the faint-hearted.
It's like super glued on. I think that before you had a lot of easily accessible meat in supermarkets, this probably would have been fairly common because rabbits are fairly common and meat was probably expensive. So I'd imagine people would be used to setting traps and want to do this themselves.
Having split the tree trunks, Abby's moved on to his next task. Turning the legs of the Sussex chair using a pole lathe. By the late 1890s, steam-powered lathes were widely used. But despite it being labour-intensive, the pole lathe was preferred by individual craftsmen. It allowed them to control the process more precisely.
This is the back leg of the chair. This is the Sussex chair, and these are the back legs I'm making right now. So the way that to make this is to first create the whole back of the chair, and then the two legs. It's going to be quite a process to do, but I am getting more confident that I can get it on time. This is one leg that I have already finished. The diameter, it's going to be 1 inch in the bottom, 1 1/4 in the middle, 1 1/2 inch onto the top. So it's going to go back onto the lathe, and I'm going to get the diameter right, and then it will be sent for steam bending.
It's fascinating seeing this tree trunk go from this big lump of wood to this lovely fine spindle. And it's just been done by very, very simple wood lathe and a hell of a lot of patience. And I think that's the thing that comes over in all the products, the amount of patience that the crafter needed to achieve these beautiful objects at the end of the day. And you have to admire that, and you have to respect that. And at the moment, by God, I'm respecting Abdullah.
Cheers, all.
Cheers, well done.
That night, it's pigeon, partridge, and thanks to Stephen, with a little help from Mrs. Beaton, rabbit pie.
Again, you don't get much on a pigeon, do you?
But someone's been too busy for dinner.
Good evening, guys.
Hello!
I broke my leg inside.
Oh, you brought a stick. Wow.
I need to put it by the fire. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, well done.
So it can dry over the night.
That's amazing.
That's the first and the second one. Yeah.
Well, look, why don't you just grab... We've plated up a meal for you. Go on, just grab it. It won't take you any time.
I would have loved to. I'm losing lights. You know what? I'm losing the lights. So...
Good luck.
All right. Wish me luck. Wish me luck.
With just a few days to go until the parlour needs to be ready, Ilse is at a local design studio.
Just pull me if I do anything wrong, okay?
She's preparing the background colour for the first block of her wallpaper design. In the late 19th century, the British wallpaper market was booming. Mass-produced and cheaply made papers were available to all but the very poorest households. So far, so good. But unfortunately, these cheap wallpapers were real Victorian monstrosities. Designers like Morris reacted against them, instead producing wallpapers with stylised designs that turned flowers and natural forms into a series of formal, symmetrical shapes.
That's it, just gently move it away.
There's no margin for error.
It's the pins you want. The pins are on this side.
Okay, and I'm going to press.
Wait. Now.
So that one print took me, what, 10 minutes? And I think I've got hundreds to do.
This is the first block of 3 Ilse needs for her design. She'll have to carve extra blocks to add more colour and complexity. But Ilse's worried that her design choices aren't in keeping with the arts and crafts style and wants to discuss them with Keith.
Neve and I were talking about different colours, and her and Rod particularly were very keen on having this idea of a strong burst of colour, like a vibrant pink or something, which initially I thought, I'm not sure if that's going to be in keeping.
Right. This, it's really nice to see. This, however, that's very, very bold. I admire your boldness, but I'm worried for you that, you know, if that doesn't work, Patch might have something to say about it.
In my honest opinion, I think that what I'm doing is very much in the spirit of arts and crafts. Everything is open to interpretation. I don't think I need to have a fight with Patch about it.
Back at the house, Bryony's working on the next stage of her C.R. Ashby-inspired piece. She's using the traditional way of making a bowl from a flat piece of silver, which is called raising. The work she's aiming to emulate was a signature piece for C.R. Ashby.
Charles Robert Ashby was predominantly a designer, but also an architect. He set up a company called the Guild of Handicraft. They were first based in London. They then took themselves down to Chipping Campden in the Cotswolds and set up a commune, teaching craft, design, and everything that went along with that. He was an idealist, and they would get up in the morning, they would do their exercises, and they would eat together, and they would design and work together. And they produced some very elegant and very beautiful things. It wasn't necessarily successful in the end, but the legacy of C.R. Ashby and the School of Handicraft is that it gave birth to art colleges. It really established teaching craft and design within the school framework.
Rod is working on one of the blocks that will be used to print Ilse's wallpaper. She and Rod are still failing to see eye to eye. The collaboration is not going well.
Yesterday, when I was drawing on paper and the paper was swiftly taken from my hands because it was ready for carving, in Rod's opinion, I feel that I'm not being trusted to do work that I know I can do. I've been there today, I've seen the process, I know how it needs to be done.
The crafters might be sharing a common goal, but they don't seem to be sharing a common vision. Happily, team leader Neve has a cunning ruse in mind.
Hey! I was wondering if maybe you would like to make an object of your own.
Ooh, that's a thought.
Nothing huge, nothing, you know, massive, but you're putting all your creative energy into everyone else's pieces.
Yeah.
And maybe you could be channeling it in your own direction.
More than happy to, yeah. I mean, if I can just finish flattening this off so someone else can carry on.
Okay. How long do you think that's going to take?
Half an hour?
Okay.
Yeah. Half an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having turned the individual pieces for the Sussex chair, Abby now needs to give the spindles on the back their distinctive shape. And to do that, he needs to use the ancient technique of steam bending. A technique used in everything from the building of ships' hulls to the making of violins.
I just have to quickly put all of the wood inside before the steam goes out. It's a very quick process. Otherwise I'll lose my steam, and making the steam with the fire is a much longer process than making it with gas boiler. So now I have to wait for a couple of hours to get this out again. I am loosening the lignin inside the wood, which is like a glue inside the wood, which makes it quite more flexible. But I have very, very short amount of time until I take it out and put it onto the template that I have built. That will be like giving me about less than a minute. Other than that, the wood will get stiff. Right. Dangerous part is that they might split. I've got one more spare ready for it, which I have to finish it. I'm really understanding this art and craft. I'm really, really understanding it. Sussex Chair to me is art and craft. Seriously is arts, engineering and craft. And all these come together. Okay.
The crafters are working hard to create their classic arts and crafts objects. Stephen has moulded his fireplace tiles and is ready to glaze them. Ilse has finally managed to carve one of the 3 printing blocks she needs for her wallpaper. And Bryony is moving on to the next stage of creating the Ashby Bowl. She's even found a way to help with Project Rod.
So I've raised up my bowl so that the edges are more straight. It was much taller than I wanted it to be, so I've cut off the top rim. I was talking to Rod, and he saw that I was about to do this, and he said if I could cut it and keep it as a ring, then he might be able to use it for part of something he's making in ceramics.
Neve coming along was a bit of a surprise, and I thought I was in for a bit of a bollocking, to be honest, but it was a pleasant surprise, and it was a nice opportunity to be given the scope to make something creative myself. So I'm making a candle sconce, a decorative piece which reflects light. It will have mounting for a candle, and it will have a reflector behind it, and it will have a thing around the reflector representing fellowship, representing all sorts of different emotions. I'm not sure how the judges are going to take my piece. I think because they're not going to be expecting it, so therefore it's not going to be a major piece, it will be a sideshow.
Abby has almost completed the 30 intricate components he needs for his Sussex chair. But to get the chair made in time, he's relying on Neve, and she's still struggling to weave the seat.
There we go. This way. Oh my god. I've rushed my own skirt into the chair. It's kind of surprisingly physically demanding, actually. You have to constantly be keeping the tension, and you have to sort of brace the chair frame between your legs, which is very unladylike. I guess I'd never really thought what actually goes into making a chair seat before, and how long the process is. Like, it takes bloody ages. So it's a huge appreciation of the furniture, of these everyday objects that you're so used to seeing, and you just don't you just don't realise what goes into them. Abby is yet to finish the chair. Hopefully by tomorrow morning we will have the chair. That leaves a day before Anita and everyone has to see the chair. You know, we'll get it done, but I don't want to do a crap job on Abby's chair. Abby's learning techniques that he's never done before, so I fully understand why it's not ready yet, you know, and he is literally working all hours of available daylight that he has to him. Like, he's getting up so early in the morning and he's staying there until the sun goes down. He's pouring his heart into this piece of furniture, and I want to do that justice. I want to do his work justice. I don't want to let him down, so we'll just keep going. Now I'm definitely lost. That way? I'm bad at this.
There are just 24 hours to go before the crafter's work will be assessed by our experts. Only problem is, none of them are even close to finishing. This could be one long night. Ilse has returned to the studio to print the next 2 layers of her design. She's asked for the help of wallpaper expert Alison McDermott.
The dress is too hot. It's getting caught in the machine. I feel uncomfortable. It weighs a lot. It's a warm day. This is hard work. I just can't do it. This is more important. I need focus. To hell with Victorian modesty.
In the late 1800s, a woman wouldn't have been allowed to take control of the printing process.
I think I probably would have been beheaded if I did this in Victorian times.
Well, it was always the men that were the block printers because it was such incredibly hard physical work, as you say. And particularly those big blocks, and some of the blocks are absolutely enormous. They would, you know, sometimes take 2 men to handle them. And then for every man, there were about 3 women who would retouch. So yeah, there was definite demarcation between the sexes.
I just wonder if Ilse's wallpaper design is actually really going to integrate with William Morris's wallpaper, but also, is it going to be in the spirit of the arts and crafts movement? They all need to focus on that as well. I'm seeing a lot of intensity, but whether that intensity is joy, as William Morris used to describe, the joy and the passion in the craft and the work ethic, I'm not so sure. I think it's intensity and anxiety that's really there at the moment.
Abby is running out of time. If he's going to complete the chair, he'll need some help. Now, I wonder who might be available.
Rod! Hello, mate. Oh, mate, glad you made it. All right, it's all right. It's good time, still got lots of light.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
I'm just trying to lend Abby a hand, really, because he's at a really critical stage. All his components are made and done, and they look great. And now he's having to sort of work it out, and this is the bit where he can get it just perfect, or it can go horribly wrong.
Less pressure. Half a turn in, and then half a turn out.
Do you want to just get some sandpaper down here?
But do you really need that much?
No. Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm just wondering about these, worried about the few.
Rod makes really, really good suggestions. But at this stage, one person has to be in charge, and that's me.
Okay, so it's not quite. I'm trying to help as much as I can, but it's not my job, it's Abby's job. I'm trying not to let any disasters that I can see happen.
If we get a line from here to there, which all of the pins can go on.
Can you go from the other side and tell?
It's a tricky one because I can either be silent or I can express my opinion. And we all do things differently.
I think we're good. What we should be doing? Oh, don't. Just please. I ask you to double check everything together. Did you double check with me when you did that?
That joint was not square.
Bryony is at a crucial stage in the creation of the CR Ashby Bowl. Tomorrow, our experts will be expecting to see an interpretation of the original. But Bryony still has a long way to go.
I've got to the point where I am soldering on the handles to the bowl, which, to be honest, is the scariest bit I've had to do so far, because they've got to be just right. The fact that I've decided that there are two handles, they have to be exactly symmetrical. The silver has to heat up to a really high temperature so that the solder will melt, and there's a really fine balance of where that melting point is before the actual silver melts, which is why it's so scary. You could easily melt the silver if it gets too hot.
This is my fifth.
It's your fifth.
My fifth roll.
At the Wallpaper Studio 2, there's still a lot of work to do.
So there's 54 of my print per roll. If we times that by 21, that's well over 1,000 prints. And then I need to do it twice because I've got two colours. And it's taken me 15 minutes to do one colour on one roll. So it's probably going to take me about 12 hours minimum. It's a lot of work. I'm just hoping that it brings Keith a lot of joy as a result.
Abby and Rod's teamwork is finally paying off. But come dusk, there's still plenty to do to get the Sussex Chair in shape.
My bowl is nearly finished, but not quite. I've got a little bit more to do than I had hoped. Just got to make one more of those and then fit them and then solder them and then do my final polish. So yes, the only snag is that when you're working this late, the sun goes down, and so candlelight is my only option.
It's the final working day in the house for this first week.
I need to clear the table in order to set up for the evening meal. And Neve, Anita gave me a book for you.
Oh, lovely.
There is a note inside, so if you'd like to open it and have a look.
Fabulous.
Read it out.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh my God. 6 extra objects to make.
Dear arts and crafters, music, dance and drama were big parts of the arts and crafters' lives. It's how they entertained themselves. For the arts and crafts movement, there was a love for the romantic and folk traditions. So, you will be joined by a troupe of folk dancers to give you a lesson
Morris dancing.
and get you up on your feet. Have fun, Anita. Oh my goodness, we have a book on the English country dance.
Oh, excellent.
Just because we didn't have enough
Things
to do.
we're gonna
dancing.
But before all that, there's still much to do. Abby has made the framework of his chair and will soon be ready to add the seat. But Neve is struggling to master rush weaving. With time running out, she's asked expert Sally Broadway to help her.
And what we're doing is we're just going to work on the front bit.
The rest of the crafters are in the parlour, hanging Ilsa's 21 freshly hand-printed rolls of wallpaper.
So if I take it from the centre this way and you go the opposite. Thank you. So, we've got a match.
With the wallpaper up, Stephen can add the finishing touches to his ceramic tile surround. Thanks to Sally, Niamh looks like she's finally got to grips with the rush weaving.
It's come on really quickly. Couldn't have done it without Sally. Absolutely would not have been able to do this all by myself. The technique has been really lovely to learn. Like, it's a very tactile thing, and the rushes kind of have a very particular smell about them and things, and, you know, it's nice to work with your hands in a way that you haven't done before. So it has been brilliant to learn, but it's bloody hard work.
Abby has taken a week to turn a tree into a chair.
Abby! I have a present for you!
It's left him exhausted, but happy.
Oh my God, can I show you?
In 1 week, a turn of the last century factory with unskilled men
It works! It's a chair!
would have produced almost 192 steam bent chairs.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have enjoyed it, and we have. The Arts and Crafts Parlour is complete. The crafter's work is ready to be assessed by Patch and Keith.
I hope so.
They will choose the object that has best captured the spirit of the arts and crafts movement.
Oh! Wow!
The crafters have chosen some original pieces of furniture from the period to complement the objects they've made. Stephen's tiles now surround the fireplace, and Rod's candle sconce is on display.
There's so much to look at, isn't there? Where do we start? That's
Wow.
beautiful. Is that... I keep thinking it's the real one. Is that the Ashby?
That's beautiful.
That's incredible.
Bryony's recreation of the CR Ashby Bowl has taken many hours of careful, exacting work with traditional tools. But is it as beautifully crafted as the original?
Beautiful.
My God.
I mean, that's exactly the kind of clasp that you would get from the silversmiths from the Guild of Handicraft. That's doing it. That's beautiful.
That's
And the
beautiful.
hammering's there. You can just see it. It's a real subtle hammering.
When I saw that last in the workshop, it did not look like
Right, okay.
that. And that certainly didn't look like that.
Abby's Sussex Chair has been an impressive collaboration. But has he taken a risk by adding his own ideas to the design?
This bit here.
Yeah, I feel that
What
for
do you
me,
think?
that's really where it's kind of fallen down a little bit there, because actually that's a structural part of the chair.
Right.
It's not just to hold the arms kind of from moving this way, it's to ground the arms into the frame. And really that bar should be placed up here. And I know it's an interpretation, but
Look, I'm just amazed he's actually
I think
got
it's
a chair.
fantastic that
I
he's managed
mean-
to do the chair.
How much of an ask was it to get someone to make a chair in a
It's
week?
huge. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're a cabinet maker, you're used to making cabinets. Chair makers is a separate thing. I mean, it's fantastic that he's been able to do that. I think it's amazing. And this is the wallpaper.
Yes.
I'm really impressed with the wallpaper.
I love the
very
wallpaper.
impressed.
All week, Ilsa's been worried her wallpaper might not be in the true arts and crafts style.
It's balanced, isn't it? It's got that real sense of proportion.
Yeah.
It feels right.
It looks expensive.
It looks expensive.
You know, it looks-
It's also slightly playful. It's light. It's airy. It's not kind of heavy, and it feels right.
Ilsa and I were both concerned. She even was concerned that the middle accent was going to pop out too much and sort of overwhelm the whole surface design. But it really is amazingly subtle. Honestly, I think the amount of intense work that has gone into producing these objects is quite amazing.
Do you have a favourite?
I've got a favourite.
Do you have a favourite?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we all know what we like. Should we tell them? Come on in, everyone. Just anywhere here is good. File in, file in. Well, we said we wanted a bit of heaven when we walked in, and it was... We didn't know what to take him first, really. You've worked really hard, and it shows. I mean, it's a fantastic room.
I think the essence of the arts and crafts movement is living within this room. And you've done a fantastic job. really.
I think we should go through each of the objects.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the chair next. Abdullah, how tired are you, by the way?
Yeah, I've had 4 hours sleep in the last 48 hours.
Well done, Abdullah. I mean, that's a stunning, stunning achievement. To bring all of that together is an amazing thing. I mean, the arts and crafts movement is all about this kind of object. It's a combination of different things. I think the modernity of this, the little dots, is fantastic. I think you caught the spirit of the movement. It sounds like you've poured absolutely every last drop of yourself and everyone else into that chair. It's beautiful. It's a stunning thing. I think there's elements that if I was going to pick it up and be critical, which I don't want to be, but of course, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have gone for that the low stretcher down here. I think that it's just beckoning it to break. I think, but, you know, hey, what's that?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bryony, let's talk about the silver porringer.
I mean, I think you've done an amazing job. It's a stunning piece. I love the boldness of you doing the twin handle. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, you know, you've got to then find symmetry within that, which is another, which is a very scary part, I'm sure. Yeah. I love that clasp because it brings a modernity to it. I think it's beautiful. It brings, again, it harmonises everything. And the hammering is very subtle and lovely.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well done. I think it's a beautiful thing.
I think we should move on to what's all around us, the wallpaper. Patch?
I love it. I mean, you know, as soon as I walked in, again, I didn't really notice it to begin with. And then it had to be pointed out to me, which is ridiculous because I knew that you were making wallpaper. But I think it's a fantastic thing. I think you've brought, again, the spirit of, you know, what was a William Morris-inspired wallpaper, but you've brought your own take to it. It's a fantastic achievement. Well done. I know that it was a real task.
Yes, 22 hours of printing. It was about 2,300 individual prints.
Well, you know, that for me, the sheer scale and the sheer focus needed to complete the task, for me, is inspirational in itself. Now, I know we spoke about the colour and whether that middle central accent would pop out too much. It doesn't. It looks fantastic. The whole thing looks so subtly sublime. It's really wonderful to see.
Thanks.
Well done, all of you. So we've had a really difficult job because we have to pick one of these objects to be named the object of the week, but we have decided on one. And the object for the parlour is the wallpaper.
All's well that ends well. The Morris crafters can relax with some Morris dancing. Well, what else?
Oh dear mother, what a fool I've been. 6 young fellas came a-courting me. 5 were blind and the other couldn't see. Oh dear mother, what a fool I've been. Put up! Oh dear mother, what a fool I've been. 6 young fellas came a-courting me.
It's been quite a big learning curve to work with people who work in quite different ways from me. Knowing when to talk to people, when not to talk to people, when to talk about something, when not, and that's a really valuable thing to learn.
And again. Very proud of myself because I managed to do this task. There was a high chance I couldn't have even finished it. The chair is sitting beautifully next to the other objects that all the other artists have managed beautifully done. It's so lovely. They're all going very well together. I'm sorry, I'm quite tired.